There are those who go silent when something hurts them. Those who say, "I'm fine," and mean it as a warning, not an answer. If that's you, this is what nobody ever told you about why. While the room is often reactive, everyone speaking before they've thought, emotions flying and voices rising, you're running one of the most cognitively complex emotional processes a human brain can produce. And you've probably spent years apologizing for it. This is what nobody ever told you about why you go quiet. Not the "you have walls up" explanation, and certainly not the "you're emotionally unavailable" diagnosis. The actual neuroscience, the real psychology, the thing that, once you understand it, doesn't just explain you, it completely reframes you. Because your silence is not a shutdown. It never was. It's a system running at full capacity. And by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why. Here's what people think is happening when you go quiet. They think you made a choice, a cold, calculated decision to pull away, make someone feel bad, win some silent power struggle. They narrate it like you sat down, crossed your arms, and decided, "I'm not going to engage." But here's what's actually happening. The moment something genuinely hurts, not bothers you, but hurts you, your nervous system registers it as a threat. Not a metaphorical threat, a biological one. And before you've had a single conscious thought about how to respond, your brain has already begun redirecting its resources. Dr. Peter Levine, who has spent decades studying trauma and the stress response, found that the freeze state isn't passive. It's not nothing happening. It's your nervous system making an active decision. This is too much to process in real time. So we're going to slow everything down. And here's the part that most people, including a lot of therapists, don't fully understand. There's a specific region of the brain responsible for generating language, Broca's area. And research has shown that during emotional flooding, activity in that region drops significantly. The words aren't just hard to find, they're actually less accessible. Your brain has deprioritized language production because it's busy doing something it considers more important. So when someone is standing in front of you, voice raised, saying, "Just talk to me, why won't you just talk to me?" And you're standing there with your mouth slightly open and nothing coming out. That is not you being stubborn. That is your brain protecting you. You're not shutting people out, you're keeping yourself from falling apart. And you can't always do both at once. There's something important to understand about how this pattern forms, because it doesn't start the way people think. You were not born quiet. No one is. Watch any child under the age of 5 and you'll see. Pain is loud, immediate, unapologetic. A toddler who stubs their toe does not compose themselves, wait for the right moment, and calmly explain that they're experiencing discomfort. They scream, they cry, they collapse onto the floor if needed. Because at that stage, emotional expression and emotional experience are the same thing. One flows directly into the other. That changes when the world teaches you that it shouldn't. Maybe in your home, big feelings were treated as problems. Maybe you were told to calm down, toughen up, stop being so sensitive, as if your emotions were a behavior issue rather than a natural response. Maybe you watched a parent go quiet when they were hurt, and learned from their silence before anyone said a word to you. Maybe you opened up to someone once, someone you trusted completely, and what came back wasn't warmth or understanding, it was dismissal or mockery. Or they used it against you later, at exactly the wrong moment, in exactly the wrong way. Whatever the specific circumstance, something happened, and your nervous system, which is an extraordinary learner, took note. John Bowlby, the psychologist who essentially founded attachment theory, spent his career documenting this exact pattern. And the conclusion his research kept reaching was this. When early relationships teach us that being vulnerable leads to more pain, our nervous system doesn't just remember that lesson, it internalizes it. It builds it into its default operating mode. And then it applies that lesson automatically, without your permission, every single time something hurts. Even if you're much older now, even if you're with someone completely different, even if you could barely remember that old situation, your silence isn't a personality flaw. It's a protection system that was built by a younger version of you who needed it desperately. It worked then, it's still running now, and the only reason it feels like a problem is because nobody ever helped you understand what it actually was. Here's something the original narrative around this never fully addresses: the specific way your silence gets misread, and why that misreading is so painful. When you go quiet, people don't just feel confused, they fill the silence with a story, and almost every version of that story makes you the villain. They're being passive-aggressive, they don't care, they don't understand. None of these interpretations leave room for the truth. That you're quiet because you care too much to speak carelessly. That you're quiet because the pain is so present that words haven't caught up to it yet. That the silence isn't about them at all, it's about you trying to stay in one piece. And here's what makes this so hard. When people respond to your silence with those interpretations, with accusations, with pressure, with just say something, anything, they are unknowingly doing the exact thing that makes your silence necessary in the first place. They are proving, again, that the inside of you is not a safe place to let other people see. The irony is almost cruel. The people demanding you open up are often the precise reason it feels impossible to. People who don't experience this assume that silence means nothing is happening, that you've checked out, gone blank. But the research tells a completely different story. Studies examining brain activity in people who go inward under emotional stress consistently find the same thing. The regions associated with self-reflection, episodic memory, and future scenario modeling are significantly more active, not less. Your quiet isn't emptiness, it's elaborate processing. And if you pay attention to what's actually moving through your mind during those moments, you know this is true. The internal monologue running underneath your silence sounds something like, "What just happened? What is this person actually trying to say? Will what I'm about to say hurt them? Do I need to say it to defend myself? Or is it better for me to absorb the pain?" You're not avoiding the conversation. You're preparing to have a real one instead of a reactive one. You're running through the full complexity of the situation before you say anything about it. Because you already know from experience what happens when you don't, when the words come out raw and unprocessed and do damage you didn't intend. There's a concept in psychology called the window of tolerance. It describes the emotional state in which a person can actually communicate, where they're regulated enough to listen, to consider, to respond rather than just react. Your silence, even when it frustrates people, is often your way of waiting for that window, waiting until you can come back into the conversation as yourself. When you finally speak, after you've processed, waited, and thought things through, what comes out is different from what most people produce in the heat of the moment. You've asked yourself if it's actually true, if it's actually fair, if it's actually what you mean. You've stripped out the performance. The subconscious lies. The accusations designed to wound rather than communicate. When you tell someone how you feel, it's not a reaction, it's a conclusion. And that matters enormously. In relationships where someone has learned to be patient with your silence, what they receive on the other end of it is something rare. Words that are measured and true, entirely meant. Not half said, half felt. Not deployed to win. Not taken back 3 days later. When you say something matters, it matters. When you say you're sorry, it's not a tactic. When you say you love someone, you mean it to the very definition of the word. The people in your life who understand this, who have sat with your silence long enough to know what's on the other side of it, wouldn't trade it. Because they've learned that the quiet isn't the absence of something, It's the cost of getting something real. What would actually help you open up isn't complicated. What you need is patience, without an agenda attached to it. Someone who can sit in the uncertainty of your silence and not make it about themselves. Someone who trusts, genuinely trusts, that you'll come back, that the quiet isn't a departure, that giving you space isn't losing you. Research on people with inward emotional processing styles consistently shows the same finding. They open up significantly more and significantly sooner when they feel no pressure to perform their feelings on someone else's timeline. Not when they're cornered, not when the silence is treated as an emergency, when it's treated as a valid way of being. You're not asking for someone to read your mind, you're asking for someone to trust your process, even when they can't see it. And the right people, not everyone, but the right ones, will learn that your silence is something they can sit beside without judgment. Here's what I want you to actually take from this. You go quiet when you're hurt because your nervous system learned to protect you that way. Because something, somewhere, taught you that feeling out loud could hurt you. Because your brain does something genuinely sophisticated when it's in pain. It slows down. It goes inward. It processes rather than reacting. And because some part of you, even in the worst moments, is trying not to hurt the people you love, that is not emotional immaturity. It is not a wall. It is not ignorance. It is one of the most careful, considerate, deeply human ways of moving through pain. And you have probably spent a significant part of your life being misunderstood for it, apologizing for it, wondering if something about you is fundamentally wrong. It isn't. It never was. This isn't just about accepting yourself and stopping there. The work is in learning, patiently, to find the right relationships with the right people, to find someone who can be patient with your patience, to let someone in before you have everything figured out, to trust that being seen in the middle of the process, not just at the end of it, won't be the end of the world. That is not a flaw you're correcting. It's healing a past wound, and perhaps a part of finding ourselves in this busy world. If this video moved you in any way, subscribe for more similar content. I hope you have a great day and see you in the next video.